Put God first.
Your presence in their lives gives them validation.
Our children don't need us to be superheroes.
If you do these things, the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today.
Men, stand up, be fathers.
Welcome to the Inspired Legacy Podcast, Season 1, Episode 16. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Henderson, your host and founder of the Inspired Legacy. And again, it's our mission to celebrate fatherhood, equipping men just like you to lead their families and love unconditionally and ultimately leave a lasting legacy. And the gentleman that I just got off the phone with, he has left a legacy of his own. His name is Nigel Bennett, and he is the author of the book, Take That Leap, Risking It All for What Really Matters. Again, the name of the book is Take That Leap, Risking It All for What Really Matters. And this book really unpacks his life story. It's an autobiography. It unpacks his story of being a successful entrepreneur, business owner, and philanthropist, but also family man, and how he balanced all of that without losing focus on his family. And really, and this is kind of most of our conversation hinged around the fact that he was able to do all of that through focusing on experiences with his family. You're going to hear that resonate throughout our conversation. But he really focused, he and his wife really put an emphasis on experiences with their kids throughout the years, all kinds of experiences that now that his children are older have really kind of latched onto and look back on with really fond memories. And so that was the lesson that I took away. Hope you guys get something out of this as well. I'm excited to introduce you to Nigel Bennett. Mr. Bennett, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great, Mark. How you doing?
Very good. Excited to have you on. I know we've been in talks for quite a while, and you came highly recommended from a past guest, Jim Shields. So I knew this was going to be a fun conversation, so excited to dive in. We are.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet. So again, this is Nigel Bennett we're talking to. He is a successful and accomplished entrepreneur. And again, he is the author of the book, Take That Leap. And we're going to be kind of unpacking that book today. So Nigel, before we get into that, why don't you just tell us about yourself behind the scenes? Who is Nigel Bennett as a dad, as a family man? What do you got going on at home?
Wow. Well, actually, I'm kind of doing the family thing right now. I'm in a little town on the west coast of Vancouver Island on the Pacific Ocean here called Tofino. It's a little surf town, and my family and I, my kids and I, and my wife, we've been coming here for 17 years every summer. It's the one thing that they have to do, and now they're in their mid-20s. So, yeah, and I guess as a family guy, it's actually next week, or this week, it's August 12th, is my wife and my 30th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So, yeah, we have. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. The time goes quick.
Yes, it does.
We have three awesome kids. We've got two boys. One's 24, the other one's 22, and a girl that's 19. And we're really, really fortunate. You know, we're really a super tight family. You know, we've had our ups and downs raising three kids, as most people do, but you know, it's been a really cool and amazing ride. So. Yeah, that's kind of where we are right now.
That's awesome. Well, I know we're going to get into this, but I know that you, as a family, you guys really focus on experiences over like materialistic things. And again, we'll get into that, but it sounds to me that has really taken root in your kids' lives now that they're young adults, that those experiences have led to traditions that are really important to you and your family, and I think a testament to you and your wife for keeping that going through the years. That's really awesome.
It's been great. I mean, when my wife and I decided to have kids, many years ago, we really wanted to raise them as global citizens. So and to do that, what we started doing was traveling with them. We started traveling, years ago when our kids were 5, 3, and I think 3 months old. I think my daughter was breastfeeding at the time, and we took off to Thailand. And we would, but we'd travel really simply. We'd stay in little spots. We'd take one little bag each, and backpack around. And now we're 25 years later, we're still doing the same thing. And we would never really stay in 5-star hotels or anything. We really wanted to experience the culture. Mm-hmm. And raise our kids, like I said, as global citizens, to understand the local culture, how to communicate in a different language or through hand signals or whatever it was. And appreciate everything from the food to the culture to the people to activities. Yeah. So from a young age, we've been doing that. Yeah.
And you certainly don't get those experiences in a 5-star resort. That's for sure.
You sure don't. No, you don't. I totally agree. No, you don't. You don't eat deep fried, maggots or scorpions or anything in a 5-star hotel. Yeah, funny. It's crazy.
So let's talk about the book. Let's dive into that. What prompted you to write this book? Take that leap.
Well, the book really, over the years, I had, a lot of friends and then business counterparts that kept saying, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. And I'm like, you give me a break. I've got no time in my life to write a book. I got 3 kids. I got a business. I got all this going. There's no way I have time to write a book. And, but then, then I really started thinking about it. And, I've been really fortunate. I worked overseas as a young guy. Right out of high school, I was working in Venezuela, environmentally mapping the coastline of Venezuela for oil spills. And, we were occasionally being shot at by the FARC guerrillas that were shooting over the border from Colombia as we would do flybys in helicopters. And so I started accumulating these life stories that, I would tell people. And for me, it was my normal. I lived this. It was my normal. I was stuck in a minefield in Egypt. The mines after the 6-Day War with Israel, there's still mines along the coastline. And I was doing an environmental audit of the coastline. And next thing I know, I have a Scottish guy yelling at me in a thick Scottish accent. Stop, don't move, can you see your tracks? And I couldn't. So, I had to take a leap of faith there and figure my way out of a minefield. The mines had all been buried in the sand over the years, and they were demining it. And so I had all these stories that I wanted to pass down to my kids. Really, that's how it started. Is I wanted to be able to document this stuff to my kids, because if something happened to me or if I was gone, they wouldn't really know the history. And then I started thinking deeper about it. I'd learned a lot of things. I'm now 57 years old, and I guess what they call is I've become an elder. And elders in old society are the ones that pass down the wisdom. And in native societies all over the world, it's the elders that share the stories. So I felt that writing a book, I could have this for my kids. I could pass down wisdom, whatever I'd learned in my life, down for other generations. So, yeah. So then I just dug in and I did it. It took me 3 years. I've got ADD and I'm dyslexic.
Wow.
And I did it. I wanted to write my own book. I know you can hire people to ghostwrite books, but I didn't want that. So I wrote my own book. I did get an editor to check my spelling and my sentence structure, but other than that, yeah, and poof, there it is. It's actually coming out. It's been on Amazon for a year, and it's coming out on audiobook this week. So on Audible and iTunes.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, we'll be sure to get a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Wow, I feel like we could have an entire separate episode just diving into all of the stories that are in this book. We're just skimming the surface. Yeah. And I'm starting to wonder if I'm talking to Indiana Jones right now, because some of the stuff sounds out of this world. Crazy.
Yeah, some of it's crazy. Yeah. There's so many stories, but I really became a bit of an advocate for, I guess environmental causes and things like that too, because I'd seen so much environmental degradation around the world, mostly from oil spills. I've been involved in, now I have a business which manufactures and designs equipment to contain and recover oil spills from the marine environment. So I've been involved in every major oil spill that's happened on the planet over the past 30 years. And it's been really tough to see this, but that's my business. And I did find myself struggling quite a bit with my family time, because I was flying all over the world for the first 10 years after I broke off my father's environmental mapping company and formed AquaGuard. We had very young kids, and we had a beat up old car. My kids, my two boys anyway, my daughter wasn't born yet, they'd be in baby seats in the back of the car. It was my wife's father's car, and it was an old Toyota Corolla hatchback. And the floorboards were rusted, and the kids could see the road as we're driving along. They could see the road through the floor. And so we were running in survival mode for years and years and years. And so I had to start up business. We had no money. It was really, really, really tough. And I at that time, I felt I didn't have time for the family, which is really hard for me because I was traveling all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple of things that really shook me up. Number one, I had a buddy of mine that was a 320-pound lineman from a professional football team. And he literally grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, and he dragged me into a peer group called the Entrepreneurs Organization, or at that time it was called the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, which is, a group of entrepreneurs, all basically dealing with the same struggles. We all had young families. We all had startup businesses, and we're all dealing with the same stuff. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the things that saved my life and really helped me get on track. And this organization has chapters in almost every major city in the world. So as young entrepreneurs out there, I mean, that's one of the key things that I did in my life. And my wife and I reflect on that all the time. Can you imagine if we didn't join a group like that, like the Entrepreneurs Organization? Could you imagine what our lives would be like? It would be completely different. Mm-hmm. And the second thing that really helped me, give me a big shake, is I hired a coach. Because as an entrepreneur and as a young entrepreneur, we're not accountable to anybody. And we basically make our own decisions. We go off one way, we go off the other way. But what do we really, really want for our business and in life? So a coach, my coach anyway, what it helped me do was set everything up to what I wanted to do. So what were my priorities? Because it's so easy to follow, I'm ADD, so I'd be over here, I'd be over there. So I had a list of things that he would help me, and he would hold me accountable to achieving those things on the list, or my goals. And that really turned things around to prioritize my family over my business. So there's two things for me that really changed things: was joining a peer group, or the Entrepreneurs Organization in my case, and getting this coach. It was paramount in me getting my life back anyway.
That's really,
I don't know what the question was. I started rambling there a bit.
No, I actually don't even remember what the question was, so it must not have been that profound of a question. But as you were talking, I got to thinking that, not everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody listening to this is an entrepreneur, but some are. Absolutely. But not everybody's able to hire a coach. But I feel like you could probably achieve both of these. What you got out of both of these steps that you just outlined, joining that organization, hiring a coach, it really boils down to mentorship and that concept of iron sharpens iron, so to speak. And absolutely, I got to think that if, or I should say, this just underscores the importance of surrounding yourself with the right type of individuals who are going to push you, who are going to lead you in the right direction, who you can learn from.
Exactly. And for me, it was holding me accountable to my dreams. I sat down. He would say, "Okay, what do you want to do? What are your dreams?" And I go, "I don't know." Well, no, let's work through it. So I worked through this list, and my dream, ultimately, my dream was freedom. For me, it was freedom, and mine was to be able to take a year off and travel with my kids. I mean, that was my dream. That was my my big, hairy, audacious goal, as a guy called Vern Harnish says. Something so far out there that I thought that I'd never be able to attain it. But eventually, working with my coach over years, it took me like 10 years to set my business up and to be able to take a year off and travel with my family. And it was profound to spend that much time, with my kids. I find that it's really easy for business people and for all of us to shrug off your kid's soccer match or hockey game or whatever it is, or their even a graduation ceremony over some kind of a crisis. And especially entrepreneurs, a business crisis. I can't make it today because of I've got this crisis. Every single day there's a crisis.
Right.
We have crisis every day in our normal lives, in our business lives. There's always an excuse not to do it. And the downside of that is you can creates a rhythm of shrugging things off. 10 years goes by, 20 years goes by, your kids don't know you. And when you do want to go do something with them, they go, no, I'm not interested. So creating a rhythm of actually doing the opposite when a crisis hits, it's really, really tough, but take that time to go to your kid's hockey game, go to their little graduation ceremony from kindergarten or whatever it is that you may not think is that important to you, but to them, it means the world. And over years, you create this rhythm and then your kids, like my kids now, this is our 17th year coming to this spot, and we all go surfing. And two of my kids are showing up here today, and they're in their 20s, and they are so stoked about hanging out. And they look after me in the waves. I'm the old guy out there, and I'm not the greatest surfer, and they're great, but they're always got an eye out for me. And now we're having a beer together at the end of the day. It's just we're super tight, and it's just over the years spending that little bit of time. It means the world. It means the world to them, and it means the world. And at the end of the day, that means a lot to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your hard work is paid off for sure. I want to go back to the point you made.
It's a lot of hard work. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to the point you made about your long-term goals. I think that is so important, whether it's business goals or personal goals, financial goals, whatever it is in life, to have the long view in mind. We live in a day and age where we expect everything so instantaneously. I feel like people get so frustrated that they're not seeing results. And I think that if you go through life with the mindset of, I need to get this done, I need to see results now, that creates a sense of urgency, a false sense of urgency. So when something does arise with your kids, say your son has a game, you may feel pressured to skip that game. Well, I'm just going to skip this one game because I got to address this thing over here at work, thinking that by doing so, you're going to achieve those goals sooner, when in reality, your son's game is priority, and you're only going to have so many opportunities to go see your son play in a game. And I'm just using that as an example. And these problems over here that are legitimate, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you just keep chipping away at those and you will achieve your goals. But the sense, the urgency is not always what we make it out to be.
Well, and time flies so fast. As Jim Schill says, we have 18 summers. So 18 summers with our kids. Yep. And it goes really, really fast.
Sure does.
And but the thing is, you're not going to get the 18 summers unless you start at year 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
If you lose those 4 years, they're not going to want anything to do with you for years 8, 9, 10, 11 to 18.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work on the ego, and but it's worth it. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's kind of morbid, but laying on my deathbed, I want all 3 of my kids there, and us having a great chat about our lives together. The worst possible thing for me is to be there and have nobody show up.
Yeah. Amen.
And so, it doesn't, at the end of the day, nothing else matters. And there's a couple of other things that have really bonded our family and our kids. At a very young age, our guys, they were into volunteer work. They were raising money. A buddy of mine in my peer group supported a lady called Street Mom, where she was in a little wheelchair and she used to make sandwiches for homeless kids on the street. And my kids heard about that, so they had a little garage sale, and we sold a couple of things, and they donated the money to this lady, and they took it downtown and they gave it to this lady. And then from there on, giving of ourselves has been something. I found that, we all want to give. Everybody wants to help somehow, but we just don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And, giving a check is great. It's great, but giving of ourselves is absolutely amazing. But there's nothing more than giving as a family. If we can take part in helping out in a soup kitchen or something for an hour with your kids, now that has a profound influence or effect on myself, my family, the kids, and the people that we're helping. It's been incredible. I was invited to go many years ago to Mexico to help build homes for the homeless by another buddy in my forum group, and didn't go the first year, went the second year, third year, and my kids were allowed to take an extra day off school because we were going for 4 days. It's only 4 days, and so my kids were allowed to take an extra day off of school if they came back to their class and they did a presentation on what they were doing. So we went down, and our daughter was 3 at the time, and she was painting, helping build this house, and we're working with a family that was living under a couple of sheets of plywood, and they had a soggy mattress, and there were 7 of them living in this under this shelter. It was horrible. And so we built them this little tiny house with this group we were working with. It's called Youth with a Mission. It's called Homes of Hope. And built them a tiny little house, 16 by 20 foot pad, and then a little house, and donated it to the family. And we went down with about 23 people from California and Canada as well. And our kids came back and put on this presentation at their class. And so they put on a presentation, and I helped when the little ones, because my daughter, one of the years she was like in kindergarten, I helped her put on a PowerPoint presentation. I got home, and our phone started ringing off the hook from all the families wanting to come and volunteer. And I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. And we ended up having 80 people come with us. And we weren't even putting these things on. We were just taking part. So I asked the organization if we could help lead a group, and they said fine, and we brought 80 people. So we've gone now 18 times, I think, to Mexico.
Wow.
We've led probably 700 people. Yeah, this is since my kids were 4 years old. But giving as a family is so powerful. It's so powerful. And the trickle down effect from that, with other people coming with you, or kids wanting to come and then help, it's just, yeah. And I've had other kids come with us from other families that we've taken with us. And now they're in their mid-20s. And they call me every year. Hey, Nige, hey, we're going down to Mexico. We're going to go build again. They're these big, tough 6'6" guys. And they're like, hey, man, are we going to go? We're going to go this year. I'm like, yeah, we're going to go. I'll take it. He was 4 years old when we took him last time, and it's just something that a lot of them would rather do that than go to a fancy resort somewhere, which blows me away. I can't actually believe it, but they actually tell me that. So I just found giving of ourselves and giving as our family, as for me, it's been one of the most powerful things we've ever been able to do for our kids and family, and for other people as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think it just underscores how pivotal including your kids and all of these experiences been in forming those bonds that we talked about earlier. I just had a guest on my last episode. We touched on this rather, and how we include children in our own experiences. It exposes them to so much more than what they would otherwise. And so, by you involving your kids, it's one thing to have them, donate some money, put it in an envelope and send it off to an organization. It's like, they don't get a sense of where that goes and how it makes an impact. But when they can actually go with you experience this with you side by side. You build the bonds together,
Yeah.
and then they see the fruits of their labor firsthand.
Absolutely.
And then you did that
And
over how many years you did that? 17 or 18 years?
Yes. I mean, we've been 18 times. We went that year that the kids came back and did the presentation. We took 3 in 1 year because we had 80 people. We couldn't take 80 people in one shot. It's too many. So we did 3 trips in 1 year. So yeah, we've been 18 times over probably 15 years or something. And it's just been, and the really cool thing is that when your kids are young, they get to paint. They're doing the painting, okay, because they can't, swing a hammer. And then they get to swing a hammer, and they're missing every nail, right? And then there's a supervisor there that's a young Mexican youth, and they're helping them straighten the nails, and they get to hit the nails. And then when they're 12 to 13, you get to go on the roof. Well, that's a big deal for kids. You get to go on the roof and put the shingles down. And then when they're 15, 16, now they're supervisors. So it's just this whole process of building self-confidence. And, my middle son, he had a really tough time in school. He's dyslexic and ADD like me and had a really, really hard time. But when he gets to go and do things like that, it really built his self-confidence,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he's become he's been an amazing kid. He's an actor and he's a performer. He does all this stuff. He's just crazy, but he had a really, really tough childhood in school, and showing them that you can do other things outside of that. And we were fortunate. In 2015, 2016, I was able to set my business up to run pretty much without me. So we traveled for a year with my family, and my son had just graduated from high school. I don't know how we got out of high school. I think his girlfriend really helped him, and he did graduate. But he came with me, and I had some work to do in different countries. I was working on this oil spill stuff, and so I'd be in London. I'd buy him a cheap business suit, and he'd be in there helping me do a presentation for the International Maritime Organization. And bringing them along just broke the ice. You have these stuffy guys in these suits, but if you bring your son along or your daughter along, it's a totally different game. They just love it.
Yeah.
I mean, people love you bringing your kids along when they're young adults like that. And so I did that in every case. I took them offshore supply vessels off Brazil, big seas, and we're going from the tender ship. We have to jump and climb up that rope, to get onto the big ship. And so he's climbing up with the hard hat and the coveralls and the goggles, and he's on the ship, and he's learning how to run this big offshore oil skimming systems. And so just these various experiences. And then when we were traveling, they took an acting class while we were in London. And I thought he may want to work for my business at one point. And he told me while we were in Brazil, he said, I got to go home. I said, you got to go home. Why? After 8 or 9 months. And he says, I got auditioned to get into acting school. And I said, what? And so he got his own ticket. He flew home. He auditioned to get into acting school. He went to acting school. He graduated, and now he's a working actor. And it's just crazy how much self-confidence that type of experience, can get you. And it can be anywhere. It can be, in your hometown, going with your sons or daughters to, volunteer, or even if you've got a meeting at your work, if you there's always that bring your kid along day, right? You bring your son along day, but do it more than once or twice. It really means a lot to the kids. They learn a heck of a lot, but also to the people that you're meeting. They love it. People love it. It breaks up the day. It breaks up the monotony when people, bring their their kids along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, Nigel, I can't believe we're already coming up on our time here, but this has been an outstanding conversation. I think the theme that I'm taking away is experiences over things. I mean, experiences develop deep, deep bonds that last a lifetime. And I think that's the message that I'm taking away from this. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Outstanding stuff.
Yeah, no problems. No, this has been great. Yeah, actually, there's just one other thing we did is my kids. I talk about my kids all the time. Just like all of us, we love our kids. We started a couple of nonprofits too. So we started one called True Beach because we are water people and we were sick of our oceans around the planet being filled with garbage and trash. You probably see it on Instagram all the time, all the trash and everything in the oceans. Well, we started an app and a movement called True Beach, TRUVEACH, where people can actually share pictures and post on the true conditions of our oceans so we can bring awareness and change back into our communities.
Oh, very cool.
And then my son and I and my coach started another one called giftadd.com, which is, dispelling the myth that people with ADD and dyslexia, kids and adults, we are not stupid. It's actually a gift. And so that's another movement we have going as well. And I started that with my kids as well. So so those kind of things are fun as well.
Well, I would love to dive into that more. That almost sounds like a whole separate podcast episode.
Yeah, I'm doing a talk for Surfrider Foundation here tomorrow night on our True Beach thing. So
that's awesome. Well, Nigel, we have kind of danced around the whole idea of leaving a legacy through these stories that you've archived and documented in your book, Take That Leap. But as you think about legacy, a lot of things come to mind when we hear that word, but when you pair it with the word inspired and you say, and you hear rather, an inspired legacy, what does that mean to you to leave or to have an inspired legacy?
Yeah, it's a big one. I really, for me personally, I just want to leave the world a little bit better than when I arrived, and I'm really, really fortunate to have this platform that I've built up over 35 years of working all over the world. And what I've decided to do is I was going to sell my business a few years back, but I actually pulled it off the table. And I now use it, and I use this platform, and I leverage the crap out of this platform to do good in the world. So, that's, my legacy. I'm working with my kids in nonprofits and, the book, being able to pass down what I've learned to future generations. I connect, and I've shaped my life now that I only connect with only amazing people doing amazing things in the world. I don't to connect with the negativity. And whatever gives me joy. And, I just love, I love giving back. I love giving back to youth. I have more coffees with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids than I do anybody, because they all want to pick my brain and they want to pitch their ideas. And I just feel honored to that they trust me for that type of stuff.
Well, that's great, man.
I think it's a living an inspired legacy. I think it's an ongoing process, till the day we check out, just trying to do as much as we can. It gives me more joy than anything. It gives me more joy than any business deal that I've ever done is giving back. Like giving back with my family is huge.
Well, I think that's what it's all about. Nigel, appreciate the work you're doing professionally and all of the nonprofit stuff that you're doing as well. I believe you are making the world a better place. If people want to learn more about what you're doing and the book as well, where can people find you? Where can people find the book and learn more about Nigel?
Yeah, you can find more about me on my website, www.nigeljbennett.com, and that's NIGEL Bennett, BENNETT.com. Or you can grab a copy. You can grab a copy of my book there. It links to Amazon. Or you can go directly to Amazon and get a copy. It's called Take That Leap, Risking It All for What Really Matters. And it's in paperback. It's on Kindle. And this week it's out on audiobook in Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. So thanks, Mark. I really, really, really appreciate chatting with you. This has been awesome.
Well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed that message. I know I did. And again, I mentioned at the interview, I really took away that central message of experiencing things with your family. I really think that is one of the most important things that we can do as parents and leaders in the home is to lead our kids through all kinds of experiences in life. It's just going to help us form deeper and more meaningful bonds with them. And again, it doesn't have to be big, elaborate things. It can just be very simple things that are available right in your own backyard or in your own hometown. Just whatever it is, just really own it and just commit to it, that you're going to make it a routine, a habit, something that your kids can look forward to. Again, I think that can be a big aspect of the legacy that we leave behind for our kids. If you guys got any value out of today's episode, please share it with a friend. And if you could take 5 minutes to just leave a review on iTunes, I would be extremely grateful. And if you're a guy looking to keep his axe sharp by surrounding himself with other like-minded dads, then I want to invite you guys to join our free and private Facebook group. You're going to find encouragement and support, accountability, spiritual growth, and there's a link to this group in the show notes of this episode. Thanks again for listening, and again, if you've got anything out of today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share our message, because when we work together to lift up fatherhood, I really believe this, guys, we're gonna change the world one dad at a time. So until next time, live inspired.